G'day, I'm Stephen Page from Page Proven Family and Fertility Lawyers, and thank you for watching and listening to the Australian Family and Fertility Law podcast. Today I'm talking about seeds, and you may think something like Yates. No, this has nothing to do with plants, but except from their symbol, this is the Society for Ethical Egg Donation and Surrogacy, which is the US surrogacy industry body. I was privileged recently in November to speak at the SEEDS conference in Orange County, California. So it was such a joy. I'd spoken at many other conferences around the world, but never at SEEDS. And I was part of a panel with an American colleague and an American surrogacy agency worker talking about hybrid surrogacy arrangements, namely where eggs and sperm or embryos are moved cross borders, or where surrogates are moved cross borders. And of course, from our panel, the obvious topics were, well, there is issues of cost, which is why people might want to do that, intended parents might want to do that, but there are issues about trafficking, so you make sure that no one engages in human trafficking, so there's no allegation of exploitation, and the other obvious one, reputational risk. So even though it might be lawful, is it ethical? What surprised me about the SEEDS conference, which I found enlightening, were two things. First, the size of the conference, and second, who turned up. The size of the conference, there were close to 400 there, and that's a big conference for this relatively small industry, and certainly a big conference compared to similar legal conferences that I've been to. Most of those who turned up were from the surrogacy, from US surrogacy agencies, but there were also colleagues from other countries, including Spain, Mexico, and Colombia. And some of them I met for the first time, even though I had been writing to and fro via email and speaking via Zoom. But the other thing that really I found extraordinary was that the vast majority of the people who were there, the attendees, working in the surrogacy industry, and we're talking about 75–80% or more, were women. Now, for all the talk that I've heard for so long about how surrogacy exploits women, here are not men doing most of this surrogacy work, but women. And so the suggestion must therefore be that it is women exploiting other women. And yet, when you start talking, as I did, with many of the women who are in attendance, what do you discover? Or when you hear them present, what do you discover? I had been a surrogate, or I had been an egg donor, or I had been both a surrogate and egg donor. Very common story. So these are women who, through their own fertility journeys, either are surrogates or egg donors, or occasionally intended parent, are very committed to this space, and from their own stories, look at this issue from a feminist perspective, that they want to make sure that they protect the women. And what was heartening to me was, in one question and answer session with the speaker at the front, how many of you engage in single embryo transfers that you mandated? Almost everyone put their hand up. I thought, hooray, not exploiting the women, trying to protect surrogates, and on it went. All similar kinds of responses about best practices, trying to protect surrogates, trying to protect the children and the intended parents, and not only act lawfully, but ethically. So the name Society for Ethical Egg Donation and Surrogacy, in my view, rang true. That those in the room at least said and were quite passionate about acting ethically, and a lot of the conference was about that. So it was an honour and a joy to go, and really such a wonderful experience. Thank you for watching and listening to the Australian Family and Fertility Law Podcast. I'm Stephen Page from Page Proven Family and Fertility Lawyers. Thank you.